being ordained a young priest in Miami as an Irish young man. What was your first assignment?
Was in St. Elizabeth's of Hungary in Pompano Beach. It was a challenging experience because the former pastor had gotten Alzheimer's and nothing much going on. The only thing I remember, my first night in the parish, I was locked in because the maintenance man locked all the gates of the place because the poor pastor got paranoia, so everything had to be shut down. But if you got called, you couldn't go anywhere. So the first thing you had to do is get a key to the gate. That was the first thing you learned. And then I shared sometimes with you, it's a big hospital there. And the hospital, there was, you get called day and night. We had a school, and the school was, again, unfortunately, it was neglected. It had about a little over 100 kids.
That's all?
Yeah. So it was kind of depressing. When I left 4 or 5 years later, we had over 500 kids. So you could see that there were families there, but they just needed encouragement. So those are some of the joys of working in a parish and bringing it back to life. It's giving of yourself and enjoying it.
And moving from St. Elizabeth, what was your next assignment?
Was to the seminary.
Oh my goodness gracious, what did you do? Why did they sentence
no punishment.
We welcomed him, of course.
Oh, yeah.
So this is for Father Miguel. Then what was Father John Noonan as the Dean of Man? What was he like?
Father John Noonan was my second Dean of Students. We had a previous one.
Father Victor Babin.
Victor Babin.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very smooth transition, seeing someone that really connected with us and our youthfulness. He was young also and full of energy and knew how to channel that and helping us with that energy in a good, healthy way and having fun and be able to really engage in activities that brought a lot of laughter, but also there were moments in which we were brought into that serious part as well. So he was able to bring that with the two of us, with the seminary community. But there were some things that I remember that, oh my God, he's in this with us, like a surprise birthday for then Father John Noonan. We were able to give ourselves permission to block his door, wallpaper it, and leaving just the bottom, not taped or blocked, to force him to crawl out of that door to go to morning prayer. And so we waited for him to go to bed. And once the lights were out and we knew that he was already sleeping, it was like maybe 3 o'clock in the morning that we decided to go at it. And then he comes out and we're all waiting for him out there on the hallway to say happy birthday and then run to the chapel so we can make it in time for morning prayer.
That was an okay prank, but they did other pranks too.
Well, I heard you were quite a prankster yourself, so it was a give and take
relationship.
relationship.
I want you to tell them what happened. One morning I got up and I had my shower.
Oh.
Is this confession time?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Be honest.
Okay, I will be honest. Someone allegedly put, those dye powder in the shower head. So when he got into his shower and turned on the faucet, turned on the water, all this just blew right at him, and he became a Smurf all of a sudden. I mean.
Oh, then I must say my time in the seminaries were much, much more angelic.
But I do understand from some of his classmates that when he was named Dean of Students, they told him, "Oh, John, karma is like a taste of your own medicine."
Yeah, well, that's
Why
true.
would they say that, I wonder?
Oh, yeah, they said it because when I went to the seminary, it was a very difficult time because the Vincentians had pulled out and the diocese was trying to run it, but they had no idea. I had gone through 7, 8 years of high school in boarding school, which was really like the seminary, and it was crazy. They didn't know what was going on. They had guys like taking 30 credits per semester. It was like, I said, this is crazy. You had to go to school in the morning from 8 o'clock till 3 o'clock, and it was like high school, and they had no idea. So I started saying, of course, then I was not there for academics, only I had to take philosophy. I had to get this is the only place where they were teaching. They moved philosophy from St. Vincent's to St. John's. So I was there for 2 years taking philosophy. But even that it was fun, but I wasn't overworked. I was having more fun because I said, I saw that my classmates were dying. They were exhausted from, you had to do a book report for every course, and you had to do a term paper. And they were like, nobody went out on the weekend because they had so much work to do. It was just, so I decided I was going to make it fun.
Oh, he decided he's going to make it fun.
I was a student at the time, and I made it fun for my brothers because they were being killed.
Oh.
How did that shape your vision as the rector of the seminary when you became rector in providing an atmosphere that provided opportunities precisely to be more relaxed in the midst of the expectations to do the term papers and the academic work and everything else that goes into a schedule in the life of a seminarian?
I think going to high school helped me a lot because I saw a cycle. It wasn't all about academics. It's about the person growing, learning, enjoying life. And if you don't have a balance, that was one thing I had when I was in high school. They kept us in control, but we had a balance. There was time to play, time to sing, time to pray. All of that was but in the seminary, in the beginning, it was a little bit too much rigid. There wasn't a sense of, you have to have time to laugh and play and have fun. So you had to lead it. And then as rector, you had to kind of know what was fun and what wasn't. Because sometimes people would overstep and you'd have to tell them. It wasn't being mean or nasty, but if it was, you had to say, look, I know you wanted to mean fun, but you got to know that's not the right kind of fun.
Being the dean of men is a full responsibility. And then you got named the principal of a school? Was it St. Brendan?
No, Pace, Monsignor Pace.
Wow, so you transitioned from St. John Vianney, went to a high school.
Yeah, because usually you get the term, I think, for Dean of Men was 4 years. Yeah, mm-hmm. After 4 years, they said, you better get out because you'll go crazy. So then I went to Pace for 2 years, I think.
2 years as a principal.
And then got moved back out of there down to St. Brendan's for another 2 years. And that was right beside the seminary. I was looking over at the seminary.
Same property.
Yeah. So I was there for 2 years. And then there was a change. Bishop Favalora came as the bishop. That was a kind of a funny story because his first Easter, Chrism Mass, anybody who didn't show up was being called into his office at the Chancery. Now, I couldn't go because I was working in a high school. You just can't leave, So I didn't get, go. And I got a call and I said, oh, God, here we go, And I go. And I'll never forget it. I had to park my car, and I couldn't go till after 3 o'clock. It was 4:30. It was the last appointment of the day the Archbishop had. So I said, I might as well go face the music. I'm going to get bawled out for not showing up. I go there, and he, very courteous, he invited me in, and he was very nice to me, and I sat me down, and then I was ready. He was just going to, let me tell you, you have to know Archbishop Favalora. And he said, John, and I said, oh, he's calling me John, he didn't call me father, So he kind of just said, look, we need to make some changes at the seminary, I realize it, and we want to make you the rector. And I said, oh God, what's that, And I'm still waiting for the next remark. But no, he was very courteous. He told me all about that. He was a rector, and he told me about his experience and so forth. When I came out, I'll never forget it, I didn't know where I was. And I thought my car was stolen because my head was like, what happened? What did I say yes to? So we called the police. And it really happened. And the policeman came, and luckily he was a policeman from Miami Shores, and I was saying Mass at Miami Shores on Sundays there, and he said, Father, what's wrong? I said, I can't find my car, and somebody stole it. And where'd you park it? I said, over there. And he drove around and he put a gun in the thing and he said, well, there's a car on the other side of St. Martha's. Is it silver? And I said, no, it's white. Yeah, he said, there's a white car over there. So he drove me over there in the police car, and there was my car. It was on the other side of the parking lot. But you wouldn't see it, And the parking lot was full because of the workers, and I had to go way over on the church side, never thinking, when I came out of the chancery office, I'm like saying, what happened?
So that was quite a surprise invitation from your ordinary to come to the seminary. And you were there for what, 14 years?
No, 10 years.
10 years. Went through some really troubling time trying to stabilize the formation, the financial condition of the seminary. But I guess the greatest joy of any rectors, I think, is to see their students thrive and get ordained.
When he gave me the mandate, I thought about it. You have to kind of give yourself time. And I knew a lot about the seminary because I had been there. But the next meeting I had with him was a few months later. And, I talked about staff, and I also talked about his commitment. Because I said, Archbishop, if you really want it to be successful, you're going to have to take care of it because it has been neglected. It needs all sorts of fix up the rooms, the plumbing, the electricity, the air conditioning, everything was a mess. So I said, you're going to have to put money in. And he said, don't worry, whatever you need, give me a budget. So that was the beginning. I said, well, at least I know. And I said, I also need a faculty. So he was very supportive, I must say, in that sense. You didn't feel that you had to fight for anything.
So what was the greatest achievement in the time that you were there serving as rector? What would you think? That would be the greatest achievement in your tenure?
It was always wonderful to see the guys grow up. Not everybody became priests, but a lot of them did. And to see them become good priests. That's always a joy. You can say, look, oh my gosh, I never thought he'd make it, but he did. Look at it. And he's even better than we thought.
I think the same can be said about any priest. We don't realize that the ripple effect of our ministry.
Yeah.
You formed him, then he got named vocation rectors, and he accepted me into the seminary. And so, the ripple effect of the priest. And then it does happen that priests, we're human beings too. We go through good days and bad days. It is good just to remember that sometimes the smallest thing that we do in the name of the Lord can have such a ripple effect.
But even that, Father Martin, you say that, and I just, have this man sitting next to me, and little did I know that we would reconnect again in a different diocese as a priest, collaborating with him. I mean, I remember when I was vocation director, he was still finishing his tenure before the next rector came in. To be able to sit down in his office to talk about the seminarians from Orlando and to be sitting with him, it's like, wait a minute, how did this happen?
I didn't have to ridicule him. I said, why did you do this? Why weren't you at this? This is a whole different approach,
It was completely, and it was like, wow, this is really unbelievable, and it was a true blessing to see how really the years that went by brought us together again and be able to share the brotherhood of priesthood and be able to support him and work with him as a bishop has been a great gift.
True. And as a bishop who had worked in the seminary forming future priests, now working with and tending to over 250 priests in the diocese, active and retired. No one can save the world by himself, right? Even a bishop, he needs his priests. He works along with his priests. What would you like to say to your priests, those who have walked with you for the past 15 years, those who serve in the Lord's vineyard along with you for the past 15 years? What would you like to say to your brother priests?
Every one of them, again, was different. And some of them do great work every day. Some of them struggle, and some of them can be very successful. Some of them have a hard time. But each one has to kind of find a level that they feel they can, their level of, it's not just competence, but their level of of peace with themselves so that they can serve God's people. The most important thing is just take care of the people. Now, some people can do it very well. They can take care of big parishes, and some people are not able to do as big parishes, but they can do little parishes. But each priest has a gift, and that gift has to be shared with the community. And by sharing that gift, then they become the pastor. You know, and some are great preachers. Some are great, you know, just being there. They're priests of priestly ministry, but priestly presence to everybody, no matter what it is. They don't have to be, you know, a Fulton Sheen. They don't have to be, you know, a Bishop Barron. They can just be themselves and give themselves to the people and let the people know them. The more the people that know you, the better you are, because you are the person they trust with their lives and their family.
You said something very meaningful just now, because we define the office of a pastor, at least in the law, at least, is that someone who's been entrusted with the administration of a parish. But the term pastor, a shepherd, is someone who looks after souls. Just because you're not in charge of a parish doesn't mean that you're not tending to souls. And as long as you take care of the people of God, to the souls that are entrusted to you, whether in a hospital, in a school, in the vocation office, wherever your ministry take you, as long as you fulfill that responsibility, you are being a pastor for souls, wouldn't it?
There are pastors too who retire and help out in parishes, and those kind of parishes sometimes you'll send young seminarians there, because it's not so much the pastor has time, but the old priest is there to kind of guide them and advise them. You know, they've got words of wisdom, so they can be wonderful when you see that.
Opportunities for growth,
Yeah.
and to learn from the experience and the witness that these priests are able to share. You know, and that definitely is a rewarding gift.
My first year of seminary was Bishop's 25th year as a priest. I remember serving your anniversary mass at the seminary. And so how many years now as a priest?
40-something.
40-something, all right. What year were you ordained?
83.
83, so
43
43 years. 43 years as a priest. What has been one of the greatest memories as a priest?
I mean, every moment of my life, you know, my priestly life, you know, from the parish I was first at to see it grow, to going to St. John Vianney, watching the guys grow and mature and become pastors despite everything. After that, going to high schools and having kids still remember you, you know, now they're grown up. And then going back to the seminary as a bishop, as a rector, it's kind of like, it's daunting, because I think this year, 2 of the graduates when I was there are now becoming bishops.
Wow.
So it's kind of like you kind of, it's not so much that you're taking glory in it, but the fact that you realize, oh my God, I'm getting older, you know, that the times are changing. So those are the kind of blessings. Being a bishop, it's enjoying it and see the growth, you know, and see, you know, you try to put everybody in a position that they can grow and enjoy what they're doing. And just even with the people you work with, let them be, you know, whatever gifts they have and talents, right. Let them use them.
2005 was a very decisive year because you got the call. I recently watched some of the YouTube videos of different bishops describing their call from the nuncio, being told that the Holy Father had selected them as a bishop. So what was your experience getting that call from the nuncio?
It was chaotic because, as you know, Archbishop McCarthy had lived with me at the seminary during my years. I was 10 years there, and he is 10 years retired. And, you know, he was always around, and in the summertime you get to know him more, you know, but I always assigned 2 seminarians to take care of him. And ironically, he died that day, the morning I got the call, and we were in the process of making arrangements for his funeral. And I got the call from Archbishop Montalvo, I think it was, he was getting ready to retire to go back to Colombia. And, you know, I took the call, and, you know, I was kind of like, I will say my mind I wasn't fully paying attention, because I was saying, I think the nuncio is calling me to offer his condolences about the death of the bishop, you know, and I didn't mind taking it. But then he said, the Holy Father, and I was saying, yeah, and then he said, has appointed you as Auxiliary Bishop of Miami. And I said, oh, what? I didn't quite, you know, this is not what was in my mind that he was going to say. And then he was kind of, he didn't pause. He had this like a script that he had memorized, and he wants you to be ordained, and we will make the announcement on next Tuesday. And the Holy Father is very happy, and Archbishop Favalora is very happy, and he was just going on, and I'm like saying, the first thing I heard was Tuesday. We can't have it on Tuesday. We're going to have the funeral of the Archbishop. You can't make the announcement. So when he stopped, I said, but Archbishop, you can't do that. And he got all nervous. He got, oh my God. I said, you know, the Archbishop just died. He said, no, the Archbishop is fine. I talked to him. So and this went on for about, I would say, it seemed like an eternity, but it was about 3 or 4 minutes. So eventually we got to the stage. I tried to say it in Spanish. He didn't understand it. He didn't want to know. So I said, call Archbishop Favalora. So Favalora called me back about 10 minutes later. He said, what did you say to the nuncio? I said, he was telling me he wants to make the announcement on Tuesday. And I said, no, he can't do that. Oh, that's okay. I'll call him back. Don't worry about it, you know. And that was it.